10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM on terrestrial radio. We're also streaming live online at cklu.ca. Just click on the Radio Player Canada app and you can stream us. If you download it, you can take us with you and listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. And while you're there, check out the great merch that we have to help support the station. And if you already have the merch or you don't need it, just click donate, and whatever you feel that CKLU is worth to you, please feel free to make a donation, because it's only because of people like you that we stay on the air. You put the U in CKLU, really. It's your campus and community station, been around since 1984. And if you want to have a good time this Saturday between 2 and 4 at the Trevi, we're going to be having Porchetta Bingo. $30 gives you three strips of, of the bingo cards, and you're off to the races. Really great prizes, great fun, family fun for that matter. Bring the whole family. You're wondering what to do on the weekend while everyone's here visiting, and you're like, my goodness, let's get these guys out of my living room and let's have a really good time and for a good cause. So check out our Facebook page. There's a bit of an ad up there. If you want to share that, feel free to do that and spread the word. So visit Sudbury News on Facebook. So facebook.com/Sudbury News. There's basically a quick ad that I made for the event. Just share it around and get out and have a good time this Saturday. I myself will not be in town again. I will be in Toronto, unfortunately, or I would be there just to support CKLU. So I'm doing my best to support it where I'm at right now, and the capacity, on the show and advertising for it, and doing the best I can, like I said. So if everyone just does whatever they can do to contribute and help out good causes in our community, including CKLU, our community thrives because of people like you guys who go out and give of your time, talents, and efforts to make our community greater and make it what it is, right? So it's the people in the community that make the community great. All right, let's see if I got that. Okay, worked out really well. I can't believe how fast the time is going. It's already, April 16th. We're already kind of halfway through April already. Like, time is flying. Weather-wise, we wouldn't even know it sometimes. We'll get into that in a second. Just seems like winter weather, or the cold, just is relentless. But we're hoping for spring, and we'll have that in a moment. We're live on facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow, but mainly comment. We'll do our best to get your comments up on the screen for those watching, read for those listening. Let's dive right in. Like I said, the weather, and we'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more. It's going to be a great show, I promise. Not like yesterday. Got off to a late start, technical issues, and then more technical issues in the show. I had so many really great videos for everybody, but today hopefully it's going to go like I thought yesterday was going to go. We'll have to see, but we'll be back right after this. Stay tuned. Great show, or your money back, I promise. And Sudbury weather brought to you by Voyager Tire at the intersection of the Falconbridge Road, the Kingsway, and 2nd Avenue. Let them know we sent you. Get a 10% discount. Currently, it is minus 3 degrees, but it feels like minus 7. Today, cloudy, 60% chance of flurries early in the morning, then clearing in the afternoon. Wind gusts to 50 kilometers per hour. High of plus 4, but minus 12 in the morning. Tonight, clear. The low will be minus 8. Wind chill, minus 13 overnight. Thursday, look at this, sunny. High of 8, wind chill minus 12 in the morning. But yeah, sunny, plus 8 is your high. Let's see here. Just want to refresh the screen because we lost our sunshine emojis. And Friday, rain, plus 7. Saturday, chance of flurries, plus 4, 30% chance of flurries. And then Sunday, sunny with a high of 10. Monday, 40% chance of showers, high of 9. 60% chance of showers on Tuesday. So you got a mixed bag of weather here. And so that's going pretty much, all the way to April 22nd. Couple sunny days in there, maybe some snow, rain for possibly Friday and Monday and Tuesday. I look at your satellite here. You got a bunch of clouds that making their way out, and hopefully, we'll just get that clearing coming in. It's like literally the screen's cut in half. Northern Ontario, all the way Timmins down to Sudbury. It's cloudy, and everything towards Quebec is cloudy. Everything towards Manitoba is clear. So that's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by Voyager Tire. Visit them online at voyagertire.com or check them out in the store. Let them know we sent you. Get a 10% discount. We'll be back with news, headlines, or comments, and more right after this. Okay, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. And it's great to be with you guys this morning. And again, I apologize for our technical difficulties we had on yesterday's show. Doesn't happen every day, and thankful for that. And good morning, Nana, on YouTube. Blessings to all, heart emoji. Same to Northern Hillbilly. Good morning to you as well. And Judy on Facebook here. Good morning. And Monique, good morning. Sudbury, smiley emoji. Marianne, good morning. From Snowy Barrie, snowing in Barrie. I guess it's going to let up very soon, according to that satellite image anyways, but you never know. Liked and shared as usual. Denise, good morning, everyone. You all have a wonderful day. Stay safe and healthy. Like and share, heart emoji. Thanks, Denise. Much appreciated. And another Denise, not to be confused with the previous Denise. Blessings, everyone. Heart emoji. And Liette, good morning. Hand clapping from Collingwood. Good morning, Liette. Hope you're having a good morning in Collingwood. What a beautiful area. And thanks for sharing the ad, Marianne. Much appreciated. Thank you. Like I said, we got the ad for Porchetta Bingo for CKLU on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sudbury News. Head over there, share the ad. That way it can get out and more people will know about it. Less things like that are being shared on Facebook these days. Pat, good morning, y'all. Peace emoji. And Andrew, my goodness, you've been stalwart ever since we had that conversation to check in each and every morning. And thank you for that. You're a man of your word, Andrew. Good morning to you. And Leonard, greetings, good folks. Smiley emoji. And a hand signal emoji. Jerome, how's it going, eh? Muscle emoji, Canada emoji, thumbs up emoji. Morning, Vin. And Hazel, good morning to you. Prayer emoji, same to you, Hazel. A prayerful day is a good day. And Vin, I clicked on your go to live and it took me to yesterday's show. Had I not had YouTube on, I wouldn't have noticed. Weather maps were different. Okay, so you were watching yesterday's show and you noticed the weather maps were different. Interesting, yeah. Well, again, I don't think social medias are bending over backwards trying to share our show for any particular reason. According to them, we have a very small viewership, and our the things we talk about. I'm sure they don't really, you know, they don't want to promote. They just want to promote, cat videos and maybe videos that help polarize people. Political videos that are gonna be very much one-sided and not another, and not really say, hey, how about we look at both sides, or how about we try to really understand things. It doesn't seem like they're all for things like that. They really, and on the Facebook end of things, they say I can't be monetized because my show encourages conversation. Can you imagine that? Not that I would want to be monetized, because I know as soon as they start giving you money, then they start saying, okay, well, you can't do this, or we'll take your money away. I don't want to be in that boat, and I don't care. That's not about money for me. I make my money in my job, and that's fine, and do this because I care. And you'll truly know I care because I'm not making money. So why else would I be doing it? I don't get any gain. What's the gain I get other than just doing it because I believe in what we're doing? Right? So, but can you believe that? Facebook says they will not monetize you because you encourage conversations. Oh my goodness. Social media. You thought that's what the whole reason for it was, for people to kind of communicate one with another in that platform, right? But no, they don't want that. They want just messages out there to gaslight people, get you upset, get you kind of arguing with each other, not having, robust conversations to try to understand each other. It doesn't seem like the social media platforms at their heart want us to be doing that. And good morning, Rick. That's a lot of emojis there. You almost have the record. Hand clapping and praying and Canada and blue hearts. Does that mean we're cold up here? Don't you just love censorship? Yeah, I guess so. But you know what? History also shows that governments and entities have tried to censor and tried to shut down things, and it just never goes their way. They seem to come and go, and the truth seems to live on, right? So we just continue to be ourselves, and it's all we can be. Okay, they change the algorithms all the time. This has been happening for about 2 weeks now. Click on the show and the live doesn't come up. Interesting. Wow. Well, you guys know what to do anyways. Maybe not everybody, and that's the thing. Maybe they're preventing new viewers from coming on. But, I mean, you all know, you'll know it's not the day we're talking about, and then you'll go back and look for the live. So I know it's hard to find, but yeah, we just stick in there. Persistence. It's a virtue. You ever look for a video, a TED Talk on grit? It's pretty awesome. This particular teacher / scientist, social scientist, did a study on people and what makes people successful. And so they took a bunch of students, and it wasn't smarts. It wasn't IQ. It wasn't anything other than people that just don't give up, that make success. Really was the end of the experiment, called grit. So if you ever want a really cool video to back that theory up, that if you just don't give up, you eventually succeed, check out TED Talk on grit. It's pretty awesome. So just like Mad Max, PPC always censored because they fear the message. And possibly so. With that, we're going to be having on Nicholas Bondaroff tomorrow, who is the PPC candidate for Sudbury. He was fired from his job at Best Tech due to them realizing, or I guess the fact that he went public with the fact that he's running for the PPC. So he was fired for that. He's going to be on the show tomorrow. We're going to do a little test tonight on the with our technology and make sure that everything's working, and so that way there won't be any glitches tomorrow morning as he joins us on the show. So I know it's going to be a great discussion. There's also been a PPC candidate, I believe in BC, who had their bank account frozen just because they were running for PPC. So point well taken there, and we all know that that's the truth. People are being persecuted for their political beliefs in Canada. I'll repeat that again. People are being persecuted for their political beliefs in Canada. So when we talk about an open society, democratic, all these things, freedom, stand on guard for all these things so we can be free, really understand where we're going in the country and why we need to be aware of what's going on. You know, it's not the first time. Also, when people protested the government, they had their bank accounts frozen. When people supported the people protesting the government, they had their bank accounts frozen. They had their gas stolen by the government, taken away, property taken away. Many illegal things were done and will continue to happen if people don't stand up and say, no, this is not what a free country looks like. We need a free country where people can make choices. And if those choices break laws that already exist, and they're changing the laws too. So even if we say that, which is pretty terrible, if you look at all these bills being passed, policies, regulations, and then ultimately laws, it'll eventually get to the point where you can't even say, just as long as you do something that's not breaking a law. They're trying to make speech, they're trying to regulate speech to the point where it's a criminal act. If you say something that hurts someone's feelings, it's a hate crime and you can do a lot of jail time. We had that on the show a couple of days ago. It's not the kind of world I want to live in. It's not the country I want to live in. And I don't know about you. And all these haters that love censorship and they love people going to jail because they hurt someone's feelings. Don't worry, it's coming for you next. You think, oh yeah, Don Cherry, the guy's a babbling whatever. He's a white supremacist. He's a conservative. You put all these things, put them in this box. He deserves not to be on TV, right? Because he encourages people to wear poppies, for crying out loud. How dare him? Especially new Canadians. Oh, even more. That's racist. Telling someone who's coming into the country to wear a poppy to remember what made Canada great in the first place, which we're all talking about Canada these days. Oh, Canada's so great. Canada great. Canada's, we have so much patriotism all of a sudden. Like, where did it come from? What is Canada? Why is Canada great? What made it great? How do we reflect on it? What symbolisms do we have? There's a lot of these politicians that are trying to hijack things, and they're just doing it to get votes and keep in power. But we need to truly understand these things, or we'll lose our freedoms, is what's going on. It is what it is. Staying power, yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, Moose on the Loose is a really good podcast, and we have Vin here bringing it to our attention. He releases like one or two of these really well done videos a day where he really kind of shows what's going on in the country. Shares a link there. So if you haven't been or haven't seen Moose on the Loose, or you don't know about him, I believe his name's David. And just a young guy. I believe he lives in BC. He's very very good alternative media, and keeps us on top of things. And good morning, Larry. Thanks for being on. Much appreciated. So let's move along here. We got a lot to talk about today. Local stories. I just wanted to point out one in particular. This is from Sudbury.com. It's also covered by Sudbury Star. So headline is body found in Bell Park last summer. It's being investigated as a homicide. The death of a 36-year-old man whose body was found in Bell Park last summer is now being investigated as a homicide. In an April 15th news release, Greater Sudbury Police said that Pat Forgues, I apologize that I'm not pronouncing his name correctly, Forgues, his body was found by paramedic services in the early morning of July 31st, 2024, near the park's large gazebo, northeast of the Grace Hartman Amphitheater, based on the results of the post-mortem and ancillary tests conducted through the coroner's office, police said it has been determined that the injuries sustained by this particular person cannot be explained. Therefore, his death is being investigated as a homicide. And Greater Sudbury Police said, through the postmortem, it was confirmed that he suffered significant internal injuries that were not self-inflicted. And that's what I really appreciate about Greater Sudbury Police, how fast they move on things and how quickly they were able to notice that this particular person's injuries were not self-inflicted. And now, because whoever perpetrated this crime, they could be in the area, right? So, I mean, only a year's gone by, right? So what could have happened in a whole year? That's how quick Greater Sudbury Police are on this. So kudos to Greater Sudbury Police for being so quick to investigate this as a homicide. It's only a year, right? It could have been 2. Could have been 3 years, right? But it was only a year. That's pretty darn quick. And good morning to both Betty, who I believe is in the Niagara area, and Miles, who is in the Sudbury area, who says, I don't mind moose on the loose. However, he can be very crass, yes, and sarcastic. The leftist politicians and about leftist politicians and individuals, but at least he tries to stick to the facts. And I was being sarcastic just now. I was being critical of our Sudbury Police using sarcasm, right? Why did it take a year for the Sudbury Police to say that this was a homicide, really, honestly? Can you imagine if one of the members of your family were murdered? And a year later, they said, oh, yeah, no, this, we're going to start investigating this as a homicide. We're going to start questioning people about where they were on that day. And we're going to start looking into, all the details about that day. A year later. And remember the guy who was found dead in the hospital parking lot? And they said they would release more information about that later, so we'd know why this guy was not found for, I think it was 3 months, sitting in his car without anybody knowing that he was deceased. We haven't heard anything since, right? A lot of times when they say, oh, we'll let you know later what's going on, it just means if nobody questions it, you're not going to hear anything. And again, I don't know what's up with stuff like that. If you don't have full transparency and you're not on the ball and you're not, on top of things, people start questioning. And then you start questioning, well, why you shouldn't question things. It's upsetting to the families that are involved. Well, you're not giving us answers. If you don't give answers, people question. It is what it is. Same with you, right? Just think of something in your own life. If somebody did something and then they didn't tell you the reason why and you were wondering, and they say, stop asking so many questions. You don't need to know. And then you start saying, well, you must, and then you make an accusation. And how dare you make an accusation? And good morning, Anne Marie. Thanks for being on. So, yeah, anyways, body found in Bell Park last summer, now being investigated as a homicide. So, yeah, I really should have been a lawyer or a police officer, somebody, private investigator, because you ever see the show Joe Kenda? Well, Joe Kenda, I think the name of his show is different. It's not coming to me right now, but Joe Kenda, he was a investigated homicide investigator in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And he basically said that he solved every crime he ever investigated except for like 2% or something like that. So then they made a show out of it. So you watch that show and you see somebody who is hyper focused, laser focused on solving a crime, you know, and that's what you get. You get only a 2% failure rate. And we need more people in the world like that. People that really are out for justice. They're out for the people. They're out for transparency. And I don't see it in Sudbury. There's no doubt about it. We don't even have a homicide unit here. But I think they're trying to get one. Last I looked into it. And hopefully they'd be above board and, smaller communities, you're investigating a homicide and you get somebody powerful coming over to you going, okay, you're not going to look into that anymore. Why? Well, you're going to do something else. You're going to stop looking into that. And it turns out to be somebody's brother or somebody's cousin or somebody's, best friend or something. And they don't want you looking into it. That kind of stuff happens, right? And that's the kind of justice I'm not a fan of. I'm like, why can't we have people out there that are holding people accountable, making sure people are law abiding, and not able to operate in dark places and get away with things? If you had more of a transparent, accountable world, you wouldn't see all of the spin-offs that we have either. Once you let one thing away, then another thing, and then another thing, and then another thing, then eventually you have a lawless society. And you don't want that. Okay, so we got so many things to talk about here today about the climate of the country, politics, and whenever we have a prime minister who's very much, he was the architect of net zero and carbon taxes. And you might say, well, that's great because he's saving the planet with the country that probably pollutes one of the least amounts in the world. He's going to make everybody here pay for it through taxes. We're going to clean up the world just through Canada's taxes because there's very few countries that pay carbon taxes. Now, Carbon Tax Carney wants most countries with his global influence to pay carbon taxes to save the planet, right? But what if all that wasn't true? Like, what if the science was skewed? Like, what if the planet wasn't ready to blow up in any day? Like, what if there was questions to be answered about this whole climate movement and it was more of a climate cult? Right? So let's just check in with one of my absolute favorite journalists, John Stossel, just asking some of these questions, and and then we'll do a deep dive into where does all this go if it's questionable to begin with, and we have a prime minister and an interim prime minister, but maybe a full-time one after, if everybody elects this guy, who's going to be pushing this stuff to no end to make Canada pay. We already pay way too much, and we'll also make this case right now too, right? We're already paying way too much. We're going to be paying even more. To do what? To do what? For what reason? If there was no purpose for all this, then why are we making ourselves poor to save the planet, right? So anyways, without further ado, we'll just dive in here and we'll be right back after this.
The era of global warming has ended. The era of global boiling has arrived.
Global boiling? The world's doomed, I'm told.
We're in the sixth mass extinction right now.
I only wish someone could have warned us about this apart from every scientist for the last 50 years.
Every scientist agrees. But here's the thing. They don't. Well, yes, they agree that the climate's warming. Climate changes. But scientists don't agree on the catastrophic claims activists and the media make.
Icebergs are melting, the coral reefs are dying, and no one is helping.
If we don't stop the sea level rising, millions of people will be in danger.
In this video and the next, we'll look at 7 myths about climate change, starting with
the great polar ice sheets, which are melting faster than many scientists had anticipated.
If global warming continues at the present rate, then the Arctic could already be ice-free by the summer of 2030.
That's myth 1. The Arctic will soon be ice-free.
We don't have decades. We hardly have years.
These glaciers are on the brink, some already past the point of no return.
If the entire Greenland ice sheet was lost, sea levels would increase by 7 meters.
That's 22 feet. At just 6 feet, one storm surge could leave London underwater, says this BBC documentary. This could happen this century, they say. But is the ice really melting that fast? No.
As we exit ice ages, you should expect some ice melt, but it's not happening at nearly the catastrophic pace that they claim.
Heartland Research Fellow Linnea Lucan researches environmental threats. She points out that studies in Arctic sea ice don't show a catastrophic decline, although ice has melted.
It's really leveled off in recent years. A lot of the time when you are looking at these very alarming images, it seems like where'd all the ice go? There's no ice. There's all these walruses laying out on a stony beach. They should be on big icebergs. Well, it's because it's the summertime. And in the winter, it all comes right back to where it was before.
All of it?
In recent years, yeah, all of it.
For the past 20 years, it's been largely stable. And anyway, this is just sea ice, ice in the water, not the total amount of ice in the Arctic. Almost all the Arctic's ice is on land. And this is the trend line for that ice. You can barely see any decline.
Compared to the amount of ice that's in the Arctic, it is like a grain of sand on the beach. It is so minuscule compared to the amount of ice that's there that it doesn't even show up on a trend chart when you plot it.
It's so frustrating. Media keep interviewing experts who claim
we still see an ice-free Arctic by the middle of the century.
Zealots have predicted doom for years.
There is a 75% chance that the entire North Polar ice cap during some of the summer months could be completely ice-free within the next 5 to 7 years.
Well, those years have long passed. Nobody calls him on it.
They absolutely should be calling him on it. A lot of these kinds of claims are based on what computer models are projecting.
And they pick the ones that are alarmist.
Oh, absolutely. Well, those are the ones that generate headlines, right?
Here's another myth that generates headlines.
Arctic polar bears are facing near extinction by the end of the century.
Imagine your family disappearing. It's happening to polar bears right now.
That's myth 2. Polar bears are going extinct.
This is the worst one. Polar bears have increased their populations.
Environmental groups ignore that increase to sucker you into giving them more of your money.
Don't give up on polar bears. Don't give up on threatened species. Your support can help environmental defense funds save the polar bears.
These environmental groups are really being sleazy.
Absolutely, because the data is right there. It's not hard to find out that polar bears are fine. Finding some sick polar bear out there to take a picture of does not indicate the health of the species.
So polar bears aren't going extinct. But I'm told we might.
The UN is warning of mass extinctions and food shortages within this century. If global warming continues,
climate change could create a massive global food shortage.
That's myth 3.
Our changing climate is already making it more difficult to produce food.
There is no claim less true.
Agricultural output keeps setting record highs.
Food production has skyrocketed, even amid the modest warming of the past 100+ years.
Extra carbon dioxide is good for food production.
Well, we inject CO2 into greenhouses for a reason. It's because it helps to fertilize plants for faster and better growth. And NASA data show that the Earth has significantly greened over the past couple of decades. And that NASA even attributes to increased carbon dioxide fertilization.
As the climate has warmed, the world experienced the biggest drop in hunger and malnutrition ever. But climate activists don't tell people that.
The United Nations says Madagascar is on the verge of experiencing the world's first climate crisis famine.
Climate crisis famine? No. Madagascar's problems are mostly caused by bad governance, corruption, cronyism, not climate change. But whenever there's a food shortage, or even when prices rise, the media blame climate change.
Food shortages driven by the effects of climate change. We're going to see starvation and famine on multiple continents at the same time.
When coffee prices rose, the New York Times blamed devastation that climate change wrought. But since the 1990s, global coffee production has increased by 82%. The Times focused on a brief decline in Honduras. But even there, coffee production since 1990 is up more than 200%.
It does not mean that there is a long-term climate issue if you have one bad year.
But the New York Times acts like it does.
It absolutely does not. And they get egg on their face when you look at the historic data and you see they've been setting records for coffee production.
But they never apologize. They never say, oh, we got this wrong.
No, and even if they did have a retraction, the damage is already done. The false report already went out.
Alarmist media and environmental groups never apologize. They keep predicting doom. And when they're wrong, they just move on to the next scare. Like this one.
It's climate change creating infernos larger than ever.
That's just not true. My next video will cover that and 3 more myths about our warming planet.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have more on that when he releases the next video. But as we know, we've been told that, that the world is in dire straits and that we're going to blow up any day. And our young people are taught that in school, and they do projects on it. The teachers are... they're telling them that it's the boogeyman and they have to watch out. And, if they don't save the planet now, make these sacrifices now, then, the world's going to end. And terrible for our young people, right? To be brought up in this. I remember when as a kid, it was acid rain and it was nuclear war. We're at the brink of the Third World War all the time. And it really does bring a lot of anxiety, but our young people are bombarded not only with the idea of possible Third World War. There's the pandemic they went through. The planet's just going to burn up. It's like terrible. This is abuse. It's abuse. But let's see, maybe science has something different to say about it. We know Bill Nye, the science guy, right? What did he say before all this became a thing with carbon being bad? In 1997, he released his video because Bill Nye, the science guy, was on TV for... Speaking of kids, right? He was educating kids on science, and later became, a proponent for all of this stuff. And we'll talk about how we got to where we're at now, maybe some of those reasons. But, back in the day, Bill Nye, the science guy, he had a bit of a different tune. So let's see what he said in 1997.
This is a model of a carbon atom. And you say, what's the big deal? What's the big deal? It's carbon, okay? Carbon is everywhere. Carbon is in every living thing. The trees, carbon's in the trees, carbon's in the grass, carbon is in you and me. Carbon's in the cows, carbon's in that bull over there. Carbon is in the horses. Carbon is all over the place. Carbon's even in the air. Carbon is what makes life go. Carbon makes the chemicals of living things. And carbon is so important. Are you listening to me? We've named a whole branch of chemistry after carbon. Organic chemistry. Organism, organic. Are you with me? Organism, organic. Okay? It's vital. It's important. That's why, don't say what's the big deal about carbon. Carbon is the key to life. You have got to respect that. This is a model of a carbon atom.
Right? So that was Bill Nye, the science guy, in 1997. Now, I wish I would have had, we had him more recently in interviews talking about the opposite of that, right? So how could does science change? Did carbon change along the way? Did its effects do change? It went from one thing of being the main thing for life, is what Bill Nye, the science guy, is saying here, to the boogeyman and something that everyone should be afraid of. How did that happen? The transition, right? It's the building block of life one day, and then it's the Grim Reaper the next, right? But what's behind that? And I don't remember the name of this particular personality, but she's on a lot of podcasts. She's an investigative journalist, and anyway, so she's been uncovering these stories for years, and she explains basically, maybe gives some reason why we're seeing this. Like, why is carbon being looked at as the boogeyman these days? For what reasons, and who is behind making that, and who stands to gain from that thought, right?
And want to help the world for public health, but have been stealing our wealth and making us sicker, are claiming that they care about the environment. They want to save the planet, but they're the ones destroying it. This whole world that we're being pushed into requires so much mining, that they want to dig up essentially all of the Andes in Latin America and major swaths of Africa and make them uninhabitable so they can get all the nickel and cobalt and copper to build their electric vehicles and their AI data centers and all of this stuff. AI data centers and all of that also need a ton of water, as do the mines, and they're trying to privatize all of that stuff right now. That's what carbon markets are. It's privatizing carbon-based life, essentially, and they want to do the same with water and air. And the person that came up with carbon credits used to work for the junk bond scandal-ridden bank, Drexel Burnham Lambert, and he invented financial derivatives, which exploded in 2008 and largely caused the 2008 economic crisis. I mean, again, these are like criminal banker schemes, and they're framing it as they're saving the global commons and saving the planet and saving humanity. They're doing the opposite. We need to be the ones that save the planet and save humanity, and we absolutely can do that. We just have to remember who we are, what humans are meant to do, which is create and, lift each other up. And we need to get rid of these people who are keeping us down and destroying our world.
Yeah, well said, right? So there are people who are keeping us down and trying to destroy our world. And to think anything other, you would then have to not know that there's good and evil. If there's good, there's evil. If there's evil, there's good. There's an opposite of everything, right? And so if there's people that are out there trying to help the planet or help society and help your fellow man, there's people out there possibly who are trying to do the opposite. And if there are, who are the good and who are the bad, and who can decide, and who knows, right? And so it's not an easy thing to discuss. It's not an easy thing to know. However, it's knowable. And, and currently, we talked about turning carbon into a commodity, right? It's for money. Central bankers are turning it in. It's part of the markets now. And then they want to do the same thing with water and with air. And we were told this before, that you're going to have to pay for your air, pay for your water, which we are, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, do you ever think of buying bottled water in the grocery store or a convenience store? Do you ever think that the day would ever get to that, where you had to buy your water? Well, we're there. That's just one step towards, water will be owned and you'll have to pay for it. We already do through our taps or taxes and whatever. We pay a water bill. Air will be taxed. Air will be owned by somebody somehow, privatized. And the list goes on. So there's all these things going on behind the scenes, and they don't really want you to know about it, because if you knew about it, then you'd try to do something about it, right? But someone who is very much a part of all of this stuff behind the scenes, and even the architect of carbon taxes and part of this, global banking system, is Mark Carney, right? And Mark Carney was the guy for the Bank of Canada, head of the Bank of Canada, and then went on to be the head of the Bank of the UK after this. And, speaking of being opposite, like they take something that's good and make it bad, we have to be aware that sometimes people in these positions do things like that. And here's an example of him in 2008. Basically, he's speaking as, the head of the Bank of Canada here to Canadians. And this is what he said. And then he also says one thing and then he says another. So pay attention.
The financial crisis, 2008-9, when I was governor, we avoided a recession. We're now in recession with GDP projected to fall by 1.2% this year. The financial crisis, 2008-9, when I was governor, we avoided a recession. We're now in recession with GDP projected to fall by 1.2% this year.
So there you go. So he said that he avoided a recession, but there's a clip of him announcing to Canadians that we're in a recession, right? We didn't avoid a recession, but yet he said he was part of making us be able to avoid a recession. Just one thing, one small thing, right? But it's exactly what that reporter talked about. It caused the 2008 recession, all of this stuff that they were doing behind the scenes, making carbon into a commodity, changing the way that our economic system works. And again, right, like in Canada, we're going to be paying even more taxes for this stuff, more taxes. And we're going even further into poverty. And just to give you an example of how many taxes we pay, we talked about this on the show yesterday, you know, on the one of our counselors who said in the public at a public meeting that he wasn't aware why people were so upset with government these days. He really can't understand why people are so upset. We should just all be happy and get along. And on social media, people are really upset. They're very vocal about their displeasure with the government. And so a lot of Canadians don't even actually realize that we're a frog in a pot, right? And if we just look to our neighbors to the south in terms of how our politicians are trying to demonize them now, but let's just peek back the curtain just a little bit and discuss how we're taxed compared to how they're taxed, their quality of life compared to ours.
Worse than California. The upper income, which isn't even that high, it's about 150K Canadian, which is way less than 150K American, is taxed at 54% in Ontario. It's crazy.
Wait a second. Is that true? Now, you hear this all the time. Canadians pay 54% taxes. We pay so much tax. Is it true? Let's see the data, and I'm going to show you. So first, I asked ChatGPT, if I make $150,000 in Ontario, how much tax would I pay, including all of the taxes we pay? And with the wonder of ChatGPT and all of its nerd math, it calculates that we're going to pay $46,775 in taxes, netting us $103,000. This means our total tax rate is actually 31.2%, but, and there's a big but, ChatGPT doesn't take into account all of the taxes we pay. It's just talking income tax and provincial tax and federal tax and all that. You gotta factor in the carbon tax, which goes into everything you buy, not just gas at the pump. It goes in your clothes, your watch that you buy, your pop that you buy, everything you buy, everything has a carbon tax on it because it makes fuel more expensive, which makes groceries more expensive, which means the grocery owner passes that cost on to you, all because of the carbon tax. Then you got this
So, okay, so I know a lot of people who are listening, we're a very liberal town here. They're thinking, no, Carney took away the carbon tax. No, he took away the consumer carbon tax, and he's just transitioning it to the companies that are generating the products. And so it's just kind of come back in a different form. So that's a myth.
Uber tax, property tax, HST on everything on top of the carbon tax. It's a tax on a tax on a tax. There's so many more taxes that go into it. So yes, that's where you hear the 54% tax. And if you make over $230,000 a year in Canada, literally every dollar after that is literally taxed at 54%. So that's where you hear the 54. But now I asked the exact same thing for California. If I make $150,000 USD, by the way, so it's more money, in California, what would my tax rate be? 32.19, so just slightly higher. But guys, that's pretty much where it ends for Californians, okay? Whether you make 300, whether you make 400, whether you make 750,000, you're gonna be around that number. It kind of taps out, whereas Canada keeps going up. But here's the thing, dude. If you're an American and you're trying to make it and you have a business and you're trying to make money, you ain't living in California, okay? I asked the same question for Florida. If I made $150,000 in Florida, which is a no-tax state for personal income tax, your tax rate is 24.48, 25%. But here's the thing again with Florida. That's pretty much where it tops out. Whether you make $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, you're gonna be around that. Whereas in Canada, you're pushing 54, you're pushing 60 without the carbon tax and HST and all that crap. And that's why, as a Canadian, I am in Florida. This is a house I own in Naples, Florida, 3 minutes from the beach. My business is down here. Everything we're doing is now in Florida. Why? Well, it's too hard to succeed in Canada. They're gonna rip all your money away. The healthcare is absolutely shit. Food is expensive, clothes is expensive, everything's expensive. Most importantly, it doesn't got the palm trees, baby. It's not warm. Now, I always end these videos saying, if you want to make it, if you want to make money, if you want to live a better life, you cannot do it in Canada. And that's why I left. I had a business of 13 employees buying, renovating properties for rental properties, for flipping houses, a construction business. I shut it all down. All those jobs are lost. Now, we're buying properties in Florida, Georgia, and Texas, making a hell of a lot more money, paying way less taxes, and we're now in the process of getting our E2 visa and living here full time, paying lower taxes, and just living a way better life, dude. So if you want to learn how you can do the same as a Canadian, follow a Canadian's journey, investing and living in the US. Follow for more.
Yes, this particular gentleman, you can see, I don't think his story is all that uncommon. I think the writing's on the wall for someone who wants to succeed and have a life and quality of life and all these things. And Mark Carney, he doesn't talk anything about that. He wants to tax you even more because of this ideology. And is the ideology even founded on correct principles to begin with, which we're questioning the very foundation of what he's talking about, right? To save the planet, you need to be poor. You need to pay for it. Meanwhile, while he gets rich, because that's true, he gets rich off of these things that he's implementing. We'll have more on that. It doesn't end there. This is just scratching the surface. But tomorrow, we're going to have a great show on. We're going to have somebody who was let go from his job just because of his political point of views right here in Canada. Yeah. He was fired because he was running for the PPC Party of Canada. So Nicholas Bondaroff will be on the show tomorrow. Look forward to having him. So if you're interested in having a conversation about, Canada's state, how free are we? Is free speech, is our freedoms at stake here in Canada? Are we going down a dark road? Should we be aware? These are just things we're asking. It's going to affect you too. The people that don't believe, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Oh, you're one of those. It's coming for you next. Like, it's coming for people that actually try and stop it first. We're the front lines, but you're right behind. The tsunami's going to get you eventually. So don't think you're safe. So really give your head a shake, wake up, and smell the coffee, as they say. Or smell the roses. Whatever you want to smell, you better smell it. Because it's coming. And if you don't do something about it, this is just the state of our country. It's the state of our city. We'll talk about those two things tomorrow. Look forward to that. And thanks, everyone, for watching today and listening. We appreciate you. And we look forward to being back same time, same place on the same platforms tomorrow. Remember to continue to stay aware. Like, share, take care. Stay tuned now for Your Shot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Have a great one, everyone. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.